Hello, I would like to invite you to reflect on a Bible story with me today. It is found in the book of Luke, chapter 15, from verse 11 through 32. It is the story about the prodigal son. It is the story of the father who had two sons and one left. I will be reading the story the it's not a long story, so I'll just go ahead and read the whole scripture to you, and then after that, we'll reflect on it together. Okay, let's go. All right, so it is found in the book of Luke, chapter 15, verse 11. He also said, we're talking about Jesus. Jesus was explaining to the Pharisees what was his mission on earth. So to explain it to them, he gave them he told them this story. A man had two sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the estate I have coming to me." So he distributed. The younger son gathered together all he had and traveled to a distant country where he squandered his estate in foolish living. After he had spent everything, a severe famine struck that country and he had nothing. Then he went to work for one of the citizens of that country who sent him into his field to feed pigs. He longed to eat his fill from the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one will give him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired workers have more than enough food, and here I am dying of hunger? I'll get up, go to my father, and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired workers.' So he got up and went to his father. But while the son was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He went threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father told his servant, 'Quick, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then bring the fattened calf and slaughter it, and let's celebrate with a feast, because this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Now his oldest son was in the field. As he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he summoned one of the servants, questioning what these things meant. 'Your brother is here,' he told them, 'and your father has slaughtered the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' Then he became angry and didn't want to go in. So his father came out and pleaded with him. But he replied to his father, 'Look, I have been slaving many years for you, and I have never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me a goat so that I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, who has devoured your assets with prostitute, you slaughtered the fattened calf for him?' 'Son,' the father said, he said to him, the Bible, 'You are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and he's now found.'" Okay, that is the story. I hope you were listening. So, um, a son woke up one day and probably was tired of living at home, probably feel bored of living at home, and decided to ask his father for whatever was coming from him. Probably when his inheritance. When the father would have died, whatever they would have given him, he want his things now. The father decided to give it to him. Did not ask any question, gave it to him. And that son, we can see what was on his mind because he went and lived the life. And everything he had went away. What do they say, right? He did not work for it, so he couldn't keep it. He had no wisdom to keep it because he didn't know how to gain it in first place. So he lost everything he had, and he went to work for someone who let him work in a pig to feed the pigs. And he said he was so low that he would even eat the food that they were feeding the pigs. But no one would have let him do that. No one would have give it to him. So he decided that he would go back home. At least, like, he doesn't think the father should even take him back because he knew what he did. But at least he could work for the father because he realized like employees at my father's house are way better than that. Like, why would I be living like this when I could live a better life by living at my father's house, regardless if I was still his son or if he regarded me as an employee. Like, he wouldn't matter to me because I could like it'll be better than what I'm living right now. So he decided to go home, and when he went home, the dad was very happy that he was back home, but he had an older brother. The older brother did not want nothing to do with it. Like, was not happy that he's back home, was not happy that his brother, nothing happened to him from wherever he went, was not happy at all. Regardless of how the father reasoned with the older brother will not accept it, was not happy that he's like the brother that he hasn't seen for so long was back home. Wow. Like, I don't know if you have any siblings, but like I can imagine not seeing my brothers or sisters for so long. And then on the day that they back, or the day I finally lay eyes on them, for me to be mad, not happy to say, wow, my brother's back and all these things. So what was going on in the older brother, he's gonna be our focus in this story. Like we can tell the father in the story is God, and yeah, the father is God. The son can be considered as either someone who's never been a believer, or maybe who've been a believer who have lost the way. And then the older brother could be considered to be a believer who has been a believer all their life. They go to church, they do all the things they're supposed to be doing. Like they in all the activities at church, they never miss a service, they are always there. So that's the older brother. This is who we will consider as the older brother. So what was happening in the older brother's mind? Like, he said to the father that he's been slaving for him all these years. But this was his house. He was a son. So he was not slaving for the father. He was actually working for himself because whatever the father has is his. So, but he was so lost in working that he lost his relationship with the dad, that he lost himself even in working so hard. He forgot that he's a son. He's not a hired worker. See, the son who was lost, he said, even if my dad wouldn't take me as a son, maybe I can be a hired worker. The, like he knew where he was and who he was. The son who's been living in the house, We've never gone no places but at the house. The son had no idea. Or let's say maybe he forgot if he was a son. He was living there. Like, the dad even say, all I have, son, is yours. If you needed a calf, you could have just do it because all I have is yours. But the son did not see himself like that anymore because he lost himself in activities. He lost himself in service. I feel bad for the dad. In a way, I feel bad for the dad because while the other son was not in the house, the other son he lost, who like he didn't know where he was he doing, what did he become. He was worrying about that son, but I bet he was also worrying about the son that was in the house as well, because that son actually was there but had no relationship with the dad. No relationship with the dad, because there's no way he had a relationship with his dad that he would have feel like he's slaving for him. So he was not feeling his love. He didn't think he was the father's son. He didn't think the father loved him. I think this is the case of a lot of believers. Believers who've been Christian for so long who just go, at some point, they'll just go by the motion because they lost the relationship. And most of the time, because people are thinking I'm supposed to be doing this, doing that, da, 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 you lost the relationship. You lost the meaning of what you're doing. God never wanted us to be following rules. This is the reason Jesus came, because it was never to be about you got to do this, you got to do that. That's slavery. And that's exactly what the older son said. I've been slaving. That's slavery. And God wanted us to have freedom and have a relationship with Him. So it is easy in the church, it is easy to be so busy and not realizing that you are falling off, that you are losing your first love for the Father. Like that was the case of the older brother. He lost his first love. He did not love the dad. He did not feel loved by the dad, and he couldn't love his brother, which is sad. And we, I believe, this is very common in the church right now. It is very common in the church. It is like a lot of Christians, they don't love God anymore. They don't feel loved by Him, and therefore they are not able to love one another. They're not able to love their brothers and sisters because we so lost, like culture, of course, culture also, and we so lost in the bubble of how things supposed to be, or what culture is saying about things that we are bringing in the church that's not even supposed to be in the church, politics and all these things, that we are losing our love for God. We are losing our first love, and we don't even realize it. So one thing I would say is we need to reflect. If you've been a believer for a very long time, you need to sit down and reflect on your life. Do you still love God? Do you feel loved by God? Are you able to love your brothers and sisters? When you don't see them at church, when someone used to be at church and you don't see that person anymore, do you care to go to check on that person to find out what's going on in the life of that person? Or the person you see every Sunday, do you know how they living? Do you know their name? Do you know where they live? Do you know what they do for a living? Or do you feel like you just go into the motion and you're just slaving for God, and He's not doing anything in return for you? He's not loving you, He's not giving you what you want. Therefore, you're mad, you're not happy. And if He was to do it for someone else that haven't been in church for so long, who are or someone who just turned up a believer just now, you'll be mad. You'll be mad. You will not want to join the party. You will not want to celebrate. And this is not what Christianity is about. This was never the goal of the Father. Um, in Matthew 20:16, Jesus said something. The last shall be the first, and the first shall be last. For many are called, but few are chosen. This is something that we need to think about. Like, there's nothing in scripture that is just there for no reason. Like, there's a reason the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And this is it right now. In this story of the prodigal son, the reason the reason um the son probably gonna become an enemy, it's because he lost the father's love. And that son who was rebelling against the father, actually, now that he come back to his dad, not hoping to have anything for free from the dad, and the dad welcomed him with love and gifts and party, he is grateful because he's been out. He know the difference from living in the father's house and living outside of the father's house. He knows the difference now, and he's not gonna play with the chains that the father is giving him right now. He's not gonna play, and he's gonna be grateful all his life to the father. If he has never loved the father before, I bet you he loves him now, and he understands his father at another level. And this is the story of many people who are coming into the church right now. Like, they are on fire for God, and they are grateful because God is delivering them. He's saving them from things. They are grateful because they know the difference. They know the difference living in the world and living in the church. But the people who've been here forever, they actually don't know the difference. There's a word like that's Creole because I'm Haitian that says the stone in the water doesn't know the feeling to be a stone in the sun, because in the water it's fresh, it's good at all time. And when you're outside of the water, you don't know the difference, so you take it for granted. A lot of us that's been a believer for so long, we are taking God for granted. We are taking His presence, the Holy Spirit. Like, when you become a believer, God put His presence inside of us. A lot of us are taking all these things for granted. We are looking at other material things that we want that we can't have them yet. And then we are getting mad at God. We feel like we've been doing so much for Him, and it's as if He's not doing anything. So we take Him for granted. We're not being grateful because, you know, it's always been like that. He's always been with us. He's always been good to us. We don't know the difference. So I would consider and suggest that you reflect on your life. If you've been a Christian for so long, remember, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. You don't want to be, you've been a Christian for so long. And then, for what happened to the 10 virgin, if you know the story of the 10 virgins in the Bible, they were all waiting for the groom, but five of them did not have enough oil, or they did not bring extra oil. So when the groom came, five of them was ready to go. They had enough oil, but the other five, they did not have enough, and they wanted the other five to give them some, but they wouldn't give them any. So they had to be running to go and buy oil. By the time they come back, the door of the wedding started and they locked the door, so they couldn't go. You do not want to be that person who's been there for so long, and when the father comes and he's like, I never know you. you know a lot of people will be surprised, but don't let it be you. Reflect on your life. Whatever you got to do to get your fire back, to get your first love back, get it. And do not be an older brother. This is like, It's not about slaving. It's not about serving. It's about having a relationship with your father. Talk with your father. Worship. Read the Bible. Read the Bible so you could learn about your father and know what he wants from you. What does he want to tell you on a daily basis? So this is my suggestion and warning at the same time. We gotta watch over our lives as we are seeing, things are getting closer. So we have to be ready. We have to watch over our lives. We have to get busy. We have to get serious. So I pray that if you click on this video, that you would reflect on your life and on your relationship with God. Have you lost your first love? Fight to get it back.